Welcome to One Day in Transformation, the human side of global change. I am Anthea.
And I'm Rainer, and today's guest is someone whose path I find genuinely compelling because parts of it feel very familiar.
Nikolas Bradford spent the last 15 years in the corporate world at two consultancies. Originally starting within the engineering and digitalization field, he spent the last years building and leading sustainability consulting teams and companies. And then at the end of 2025, he did what a lot of people dream about and very few actually do or dare to do.
He left. And he didn't just leave, he immediately founded a company, or shall I rather say an ecosystem called QOBAL. Nikolas, genuinely great to have you here and great to explore what QOBAL is all about.
Thank you for
Welcome
having
to
me.
One Day in Transformation.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Very much looking forward to this. And yeah, we've known each other for some time, the three of us, and very much looking forward to this conversation about transformation and what it is and maybe what it is also not.
So do we, and correct, and not only what it is, but what it probably might not be. So Nikolas, 15 years in consulting, that's not just a job, that's nearly an era of your life. And the biggest question to me is, at what point did you know it was time to go?
Yeah, good question to start. So probably what we started now with QOBAL has built up over the last year. So I was very happy in consulting. I spent 15 years, as you just said, in consulting with two companies. Of course, also climbing the career ladder over those 15 years and developed myself from where I originally come from engineering and product-related products and processes and consulting topics into sustainability. So I spent the last, let's say, 8 years in sustainability, starting with circular economy, by the way, which was a starting point also way back when I was still studying, because I saw those very advanced technologies and processes, but everything was just linear. And I was always thinking, what are we doing here? So why do we have all those very sophisticated people and processes, but everything is more or less built for the trash can at the end of the day? So I think what happened over the last couple of months and years was like some pieces of a puzzle coming together. And after my decision last year, we set together a group of friends and people who I know quite well, and also my co-founder was running our academy. And we said, let's do something different and switch the game around a bit and focus more on individual habits and individual growth than the corporate side, which is, of course, not at all a bad thing. So I learned a lot, built up quite a nice network over the last years, but the urge in me was rising over the last years to work more for individual growth and individual happiness.
You probably, at least those people who listen to us on a regular basis and probably even know me personally, they know why I may have asked you that question, because it is very familiar to me. I did the same, more or less. And after a long time in employment, in big corporates, in the corporate world, I stepped out myself and did build Hotprint in April 2024. So therefore, I'm curious now to listen again from you. Did the consulting world or the corporate world shape you? Did it limit you? Or maybe is it a bit of both?
So it definitely shaped me. So the work that I did within my companies, but of course also with the clients, and you know this, and I think many people who are listening to us know this, that you of course learn a lot, especially in consulting. So you come into different areas of topics and questions that you're working on. So it definitely shaped me, and also my personality. So I come from different backgrounds in my family. Probably we come back to this later. So a bit of artistic influences and engineering influences in my family. So I always had the synergy or two hearts beating in my chest between creativity and structure. And I could apply this over the last 15 years in consulting. Not only working on topics, but also working with people and building teams and brands, and at the end also companies. So it didn't limit me, I wouldn't say that. But as I just said, so the urge in me was rising over the last years to work more directly with and for people. So now we started that new ecosystem called QOBAL, where we want to focus on individual habits and individual transformation for a better future for all of us.
That already gave us a bit of an understanding, but I would like to ask that question. Is there anything from your old world, from the consultancy world, which you've consciously left behind. So for me, it was the complexity of decision takings. So I'm so proud that nowadays, if it's a decision to be taken, it's Anthea and myself looking to each other and we go left or we go right. We say yes or we say no, and not a complex process, but anything which you've left behind, maybe.
Yeah, I feel you. So we have the same. So the speed of decision making is of course something different. So the only thing that I have to say that I left behind is every now and then keep coming back to that topic. The questioning yourself in the evening. Is the amount of impact that you're having, is that enough? Is that what you want to do? Is it enough? Is it enough for the clients? Is it enough for the planet? Is it enough for mankind? So that's the one thing that I'm happy not having to ask myself now in the mornings or in the evenings when I'm reflecting about what we're doing, because we clearly work on habit making and impact very directly. And when you are I think in the corporate world, it doesn't matter if you're on the client side or on the consulting side, you have those moments of doubt. And I know many people, of course, in the consulting area, and they all have it, especially in sustainability consulting. So the ongoing questioning regarding, is the amount of impact that I'm having on a daily basis living up to my ambition? So that's the one thing that I left behind.
It's wonderful. Perfect. And you worked at 2 consultancies, both well known in their fields, and then you became a founder. What was the conversation in your head between I could stay and lead something meaningful here versus I need to build something that is entirely mine?
So as I said earlier, so it was pieces of a puzzle coming together over the last years, especially last year, 2025, when I left my old company, and I took a couple of days to reflect in mid 2025 last year, and it became pretty apparent to me quite quickly that I would not want to go back directly to the corporate world, but rather to finally put the pieces of the puzzle together to create a bigger picture, and to implement all those ideas that I had over the years, which is pretty much linked to what we just talked about. So the speed of change, or the level, or the impact, or the amount of impact that we're having on a daily basis. And that's how the idea grew over summer last year, 2025, and then in autumn last year we sat together and we made the decision to start QOBAL.
Excellent. There's a phrase which perfectly matches to that, and I'd like to come back to, and it may apply to you as well. After 15 years in corporate, you are not done, you're finally finished. But finished in a sense of complete and ready. And what do you think? Is finished maybe too clean? Is there maybe something else, a loss of identity or structure? Or is there anything you had to unlearn before you could start building what you are building now?
I would say the last 15 years made me ready for what we're doing right now. So as I said in the beginning, so in no way do I feel negative about what I did the last 15 years. So I have a very positive emotion about my consulting past, and I learned a lot and I grew a lot, of course. So I think it was a preparation for what I'm doing now. Of course, I can apply lots of techniques and methods that you learn in consulting. Probably one of the biggest advantages in consulting, that you learn a lot of methods and skills. And yeah, so it was a journey at the end of the day. I think we are all on a journey. I think transformation is very much about being on a journey. Many people, and I think a growing number of people, know that we all have to be on a journey and develop further and transform ourselves, which is the main aspect of what we're doing. So individual transformation, rather than big scheme transformation or transformation on a corporate level, which is of course linked to each other. So yeah, it's a journey, and I think it was just time.
Totally agree. And just based on my own experience, never look back in anger. I mean, all of the experiences and everything you've made as over the last years in consultancy or in big enterprises just forms you. And exactly as I said, it makes you ready. And I couldn't have done what I'm doing today without the experience of the 27 years in my case in corporates, and most likely the same with you. I think it's one of the most important aspects to stay positive and keep the positive aspects and keep the learnings with you, and don't take transformation as something negative. And change doesn't necessarily mean that everything is worse or something changes to the worse. Things can be changed to the good and to the positive, and that's, I think, one of the spirits which needs to be kept.
Yes, exactly. So let's talk a bit about sustainability and let's get a bit provocative. So corporate sustainability in Germany, has it fundamentally failed or has it never really started?
Very good question. I think you get lots of answers to the question. So I think what we need to take into account is maybe linking back to what we said already. So of course the speed of change within companies is quite slow. I think we all know this, and I think we all know why this is, because there's lots of people involved. Companies, of course, have to work in an ecosystem, follow market conditions, and I think you talk about this quite often in your podcast, is regulation, especially when it's changing quite a lot, which it is doing recently. So I think we should not underestimate how many great people work in sustainability in the corporate area. This is not only in Germany, by the way. I always think it's wrong to only look at Germany. I think the effects that we are having currently in Germany are pretty much the same in similar economies around the world. So I think we are in an area of insecurity. I think we all feel this in our private lives, but also, of course, on the corporate side. And that, of course, as I said earlier, was also one reason why I wanted to switch the game around a bit to reach individuals directly. So to answer your question, of course, it has started. I don't think it has failed. I think there's lots of great developments when it comes to sustainability, which is, by the way, a word we are not using at QOBAL. But we come back to it later.
Which, by the way, is the same with us. So we've changed it on our website as well. We don't use sustainability any longer. It's a different wording, but curious to hear about you. Sorry.
For many reasons, but I come back to that later. So yeah, there's a lot of discussion around sustainability and has it failed or has it even started? I think it absolutely has started. I think we hear it maybe a little less in headlines in the last 1 or 2 years, but the amount of change and also the amount of awareness that has happened also in society, also coming from corporates and leading corporates in their transformation, I think is very huge and will continue. So I think we all feel in the sustainability bubble that we are somehow in a valley of problems maybe right now, a valley of challenges, but this will of course continue. Because what has started over the last years and the last decades is a transformation journey again, and ups and downs are quite normal on such a journey.
The second question, so what's the difference then between a company that reports well and a company that actually transforms?
I think we shouldn't separate the two, because I've had many clients in my past who started with reporting, and they learned so much from the reporting endeavors. They all said it's quite heavy. It's a task. It's quite a lot of time and money going into that. But I remember one client saying, we have learned so much about our company and our ecosystem, our supply chain up and downstream through our reporting project, so to speak, which actually is never a project. It's an ongoing task, which we would never have learned if we wouldn't have done that. So I think reporting sometimes is seen as just something superficial where you drop in some numbers and then you have your report. But everybody who's working on a sustainability reporting project knows that this is not the case. So you go very much into details. So I think reporting and true transformation in core processes goes hand in hand. And of course, reporting is also not looking just at your own company. It's looking, as I just said, on your up and downstream, on your network. And the benefits of a sustainability reporting also on the inside of a company must not be underestimated. So from an employer branding perspective, this is super important, but also on the market. So I wouldn't distinguish those 2 points too many. So true transformation and reporting, they both need one another, so to speak.
I fully agreed. I mean, you did work on sustainability transformation frameworks in your past jobs, bringing rigor to something that often stays at the level of strategy decks and good intentions. So what's the one single insight you kept coming back to, that one thing that actually really moves organizations? Is it transparency? Is it data, like you said it, or is it something else?
I think it's companies feeling that they are on the right path or the right point on their journey. So I think many companies, of course, just started, as I just said, with the reporting in the last years because they had to, or because their clients wanted them to do it. So there's very different starting points into sustainability, and lots of companies started from very different points in the last, 20, 30 years, maybe. Some of the companies who we know started already earlier, but the key challenge with sustainability is not a project, and you have to flip every stone along the way. So when you start in a circular economy project, maybe you are automatically going into social aspects in your supply chain, you're automatically going to decarbonization, so everything is connected. And I think finding a way to navigate through those different areas and to know in what order you work on the different topics is why we created the framework. So what you just said, Rainer, so that was more like the navigation system. Somehow that kind of knowledge we are applying at QOBAL as well. So we have QOBAL Compass, which is the foundation of our values and the habits that we want to make available for people. And to find a way through that very complex area and world of sustainable business across ESG, across all different topics, I think that's the main challenge. And of course, many consultancies are doing a great job to also transfer knowledge into companies and to give them a way forward.
Pathfinder, the navigation system, is that thing which is moving companies then? What would be, from your perspective, the opposite of that? So what would kill transformation faster than anything else?
I would say negative experiences, because some companies just start maybe with the wrong topic, or don't see the connections behind everything and treat, as I just said, sustainability as a project that somebody's doing, and that's of course wrong. So if you really want to transform, maybe also coming back to the headline of the podcast, if you really want to transform yourself, so on an individual level, but of course also for corporations, then you have to look at every aspect of your company, every kind of process, every kind of product across the portfolio, and of course also looking at the social aspects. And to think sustainability is a project that somebody's doing somewhere in the company, which is not affecting everybody else, is purely wrong. And I think some companies made a mistake of treating sustainability as something that somebody's doing, but just that one person in the worst case.
Agreed. So sustainability reports are fiction. That's something I read just recently, and the truth lies in Monday morning habits. So everybody's talking about something but doing something else. First of all, would you agree on that? And if so, what does it mean for the work you are doing? Is that part of what QOBAL is trying to fix?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say that, as I said earlier, sustainability reporting is fiction. I think it's very important, not only from the reports or the end product itself, but also what's happening along the way of creation of such a report. As I said earlier, so data collecting and bringing people together and making processes and data points transparent, and finding lots of ways to optimize the company and the business model, not only for the sake of sustainability, but also for purely economic reasons, which, by the way, has to be linked together all the time. So sustainability and economy go hand in hand. And so of course the habits is the key aspect of what we are working on at QOBAL. So QOBAL stands for quality of business and life. So of course we want to implement habits in the sustainability area, but also on the wider scheme of economic success for businesses and for private or individual people alike. But we go through the individual person. So we want to implement that and create an ecosystem and provide an ecosystem for individual people to learn from experts and to apply that knowledge right away in their private life and in their business life. And what we are feeling, I think, especially over the last years, is an intention-action gap. And that's what we want to bridge with QOBAL. So many people, and I think more and more people, as I said in the beginning, want to change, but they are overwhelmed. They are overwhelmed with negativity. They are overwhelmed with insecurity. We're feeling right now they don't have enough time to work on their habits. So I think what's important is a balance between a clear goal where you want to go on your journey. So what's your development path, again, for individuals, but also for companies, and then to bridge the intention action gap by repetition, because actual transformation comes from repetition and structure. depending on what sources you go to. Some say habit making takes 21 repetitions, others say 60 repetitions, but of course you need to repeat your actions. Again, not only as an individual person, but also as a company, and that's what we're working for at QOBAL.
And I can just agree on that example. If I feed my 5-year-old something for the first time, he doesn't like it. If I feed it for the 21st time, then he probably does. Not always, but sometimes.
Okay, so let's dive right into QOBAL. So quality of business and life, app, academy, expert community, quarterly magazine. That's a lot of moving parts for a brand new venture. Walk us through it. What does someone actually experience when they engage with QOBAL?
Yeah, very happy to. So, as I said earlier, so what we want to create is an oasis of quality. So we want to create a space where people can spend some time away from what we said earlier, from the negativity, from disinformation, from the insecurity, and find a space where they can grow and develop themselves. So that's our mission. So to create a space and environment where people can work on their own transformation journey or growth journey, however you call it. And then the question is, how can we do this? So we sat together at the beginning and said we want to have an environment that is somehow available in the everyday life of people. And in an ever more digital world, of course, we said, okay, probably we're going to have an app for this. That's the one thing, the app. And the second one, we did not want to be a company where we are all the experts and we are talking about something. So we want to invite, which happily also the two of you joined, experts from all areas to share their knowledge on our platform environment, however we call it. So that's the second point. I think expert knowledge is super important, especially if you want to fight disinformation, because there's so much wrong information out there, especially around sustainability. So we invited experts from all areas, and that's the third important point. So if you want to create such an environment where people can actually work and develop themselves, looking at their full lives, you need to provide knowledge on all areas of life. And that's what we set up with the compass, what I said in the beginning. So the topics that we are covering are going from individual health and well-being, nutrition, through environmental aspects. Architecture is one of the points that we're having, cultural aspects like fashion and travel. So we have a list of 12 topics where we are providing expert knowledge for. And the next question is how to make this implementable. And this brings us back to the app. So we created a couple of exercises, and the app is a mixture of habit makers, as we call them. So exercises where people can, as I said before, repeat the habit making, learn from experts, and also reflect on what they learned. Because we did not want to do this fully in the digital space, we also have an office and showroom in Munich. And we are inviting people to events to come to us here in Munich, and also now with the magazine. So we wanted to have something haptic, something that people can enjoy, take some time off, grab a coffee, also get away from the digital world. So that's quite important for us. So we're not saying use our app 10 hours a day and your life is going to be better. It's quite the opposite. So it should be a daily quality companion, as we call it. That's why we also call the app Quality Daily. So it's an app that you can use, 5, 10, 15 minutes maybe. Also separate it across the day, do some exercises, do some reflecting, do some journaling, read an article in the evening, and just repeat those habits. And every user can also personalize the app. So you can define which 3 of the 12 topics are the most important ones for you, which can be changed whenever the user likes to. But it's a very personal experience that we wanted to create. And then the fourth aspect is the academy. So we said probably just the habit making through the app and the experts in articles and podcasts is not going to be enough to really drive sustaining change and growth and habit making for people. That's why we have the academy under roof as well. So where we and our experts are providing courses for all the different aspects and topics that I just mentioned. So from health over architecture to business topics and environmental aspects. So it's an ecosystem. It's not super easy to explain, I know, and I see that now. So we launched the app 4 weeks ago. So it's not a typical thing that you can push forward in an elevator pitch. So it takes some time, of course, to explain what we're doing and why we're doing that. But Actually, slowness is something that we also want to advocate for. So we want to, as I said, create an oasis of quality so people can take some time off, slow down, reflect. And if we're building something that maybe takes 5 minutes to explain, but is valuable at the end, we're quite happy with that. And we want
Worth
to.
the 5 minutes, absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. Who is the person who gets the most from QOBAL? Can you paint that picture for us? Or is there any?
So the ideal person is a person who knows and wants to change their behavior in whatever meaning. Might be sustainability, might be their own personal behavior in terms of consumption, or to speed down, slow down their life on a daily basis, but just doesn't have the right amount of access to knowledge, because that's not a topic that we talked about last year when we sat together and created the ideas. We have a lot of fragmentation around information out there. So especially when you look at all the media brands, so you find a media brand for, I don't know, for traveling, and there's another one on nutrition, and there's another one providing content for maybe architecture. But I don't want to compare myself with him, but I think we all know the famous saying of Ferdinand Porsche when he said he couldn't find the car of his dreams, so he built it himself. And that's somehow an emotion I was going through last year, because I was overthinking, why isn't there a platform or environment where we can all get the information around growth and transformation from, and especially not bridging life and business topics. And that's what we created. That's the idea behind it.
Love that quote. And I love Porsche as well, as those people who know me can already explain. But yes, very good explanation. Thank you for that. Maybe just talking a bit on the ambassadors aspect, and in full transparency, both Anthea and myself, we are QOBAL ambassadors. And so just thinking back, as you first explained the idea of QOBAL, the thing that struck to me most was the word habit. It wasn't strategy, it wasn't framework, but habit. Maybe to the listeners out there, we should probably explain a bit the difference between habit and routine. Is there a distinction that matters to you? What is the idea behind habit?
So the main idea is that we want to implement behavioral change. And as I said earlier, behavioral change happens if you combine repetition and structure, and of course the knowledge that we are providing. So we don't have discussions around, do we call it habits or do we call it routine or something? So another learning that I had over the last years is that knowledge must be understandable and digestible for people. And I think that's one of the problems that we had, especially in the sustainability area in the last years, that the language just became too scientific. So I had many of those moments when I was at a gathering of sustainability experts, and I looked out of the window and I saw the people on the streets, and I said, what we are talking here is good and it's valuable and it's great to connect with those people. And don't get me wrong, so I love the sustainability expert gatherings. I go to them pretty much on a weekly basis, and it's great to connect with people and exchange and learn from each other. But the language that we have developed in the sustainability bubble, so to speak, of the last years is not understood by people on the street. So parts per million is one example that I always see, especially in LinkedIn in LinkedIn profiles. Very important topic, emissions data, etc. We understand it. Do the ordinary people on the street understand what a part per million is? Probably not. So the language that we want to use and that we're using at QOBAL is very easy to understand. So we just call it habits. We talk about habits. I think it's a word everybody understands. Everything on QOBAL, by the way, is in English because we want to reach a global audience. And yeah, so we just want to provide that positive space and area where people can work on their own transformation without being forced to. So there is, as I said earlier, quite a range of exercises and functions on the app. And as we said, we have the app, we have the magazine, we have the expert community, and also the academy. So there's a lot to do if people have the time and want to work on something on that special day. But we are not pushing people into anything. So we want to attract with positivity. I think that's something else I wanted to say. So a positive environment where people can learn from experts from all areas of business and life, and just come into the repetition mode.
which is even more urgently required in these days. I mean, we are recording now on March 3rd, which is just 4 days after the war in Iran started. So we need to have some positive news, some positive outlooks, and some good input, which is not only negativity around us. Absolutely.
So, Nikolas, you're also a photographer, a visual storyteller, so to say. That feels like an unusual combination for someone with an engineering background and a career in strategy consulting. How does this part of you show up in QOBAL and in your work in general?
Yeah. I said in the beginning, so the family on my mother's side are quite artistic, so painters and people working on graphics, and the side of my father was more on the engineering side. So I always had those two areas of structure and creativity, so to speak, within me, which of course I also could apply in my career. So I think having a creative mind is very good also in engineering and in business. And I applied that for many areas and tasks that I was working on. So content wise, but also in terms of brand building and people building, and I also learned a lot along the last years. So what happened with my, let's say, inner values and inner orientation over the last 15 years was something that I'm very grateful for in my private life, and of course also on the business side. Learned a lot from very great people on client side, and also in my own companies, and also in my wider network that I could establish. And photography was always a way for me to slow down a bit. I think photography gives us the opportunity to be in the moment, to be more intentional, to be more aware of what's happening around us, to capture a picture and to later work on it and revisit the moment. So that's something that I really love to do, and I know quite a few people who also do this as a side hobby, or maybe as semi-professionals. I think nowadays with our phones, all of us are photographers, more or less.
True.
How many who are actually taking a picture do that with full awareness and mindfulness? That's maybe another discussion. But yeah, so photography is a way for me to slow down and to enjoy the current moment and to be more mindful about what's happening around me. And that's, of course, something that's very close to the mission of QOBAL. So we want to bring that feeling of positivity, of slowing down, of being more mindful. I know mindful is a word used quite a lot nowadays, but to slow down and to focus on what's important for our own transformation journey. And of course, now we are working on the magazine. So the magazine will be launched in 2 weeks. Will be printed in Copenhagen, fully cradle to cradle certified, by the way.
Lovely.
And yeah, of course, I can apply my artistic genes a bit, and working on the magazine, and the first feedback on the drafts and the first articles is very good, and very much looking forward to this. And this week also the Academy will go live, and then all our pillars are ready to go, and looking forward to the next weeks and months of growth.
Sounds amazing.
Excellent. And let's just maybe stick with art for the moment. And one of the aspects of art is music. So we have a tradition in the podcast, and this is something which our constant listeners know already. We ask every of our guests for a song, a track that meant something to you or during a period of real change. Doesn't have to be explained, but we'd love to know what is the song for you, Nikolas, and probably why, if you wish.
Yeah. Well, I can explain it a bit. So for me, this is Inner Bloom by Rufus Du Sol. In the long version, there's a short radio version. I think it's 3 minutes or something, but I always listen to the 9:38 version, the long one. And that's my typical Sunday song. So I love to listen to it. I don't get annoyed by it, which usually happens when you listen to a song 10 or 15 or more times, but I just keep coming back to it, because it's such a powerful combination of, again, slowing down, but also powerful beats. And somehow across those more than 9 minutes, it takes you on a journey. And it's a song that I can slow down to, that I can reflect to, and it's calm and energetic at the same time. So that's the song that I would pick for that question.
I have to admit, I did listen because of the preparations already up front into it because I didn't know the title itself, not long version. And from all the songs which had been named from our guest, that is one of my favorites. So it immediately became one of a
Yeah,
very
it's
good
a good
listen for
one.
me as well. So you'll find that to our listeners, you'll find the link in the show notes to our playlist, and you'll find then that song there as well. It's then One Day in Transformation Season 2, and that is the playlist which will be now added with the song from Nikolas. Thanks for that.
So then let's jump to our transformation challenge. So Nikolas, you've built an entire ecosystem around making quality a daily habit. So this one should be easy for you, but make it real. What's the one thing you'd ask our listeners to try for the next 7 days?
I think the main point that I would highlight here is to slow down. I think we are all running around. We are all in the just always speeding communities and societies nowadays. And again, many people know that we have to slow down. We talked about mindfulness before, but how many people are really applying this on a daily basis? So I try to do this every day. So I also implemented the habit of slow mornings. So that's something that I do at least 10 to 15 minutes in the morning. But what I would say to listeners is take 5, 10, 15 minutes off every day without distractions. Focus on yourself, go for a walk, stick your face into the sun, jot down some notes, do a breathing exercise, which you can do in the app, by the way, as well. So I think slowing down and being more aware of what's happening, and to do this on a regular daily basis, maybe once or twice or 3 times a day, that's super important. And this will fully shift your energy. So that's a promise that I can make. And that's the main thing that I would give away here.
Sounds amazing.
And the both of us, Anthea and myself, will immediately start with
Mhm.
putting the sun into our face because currently it's getting spring here, at least in Munich. So we'll have at least a good opportunity in following that. Thank you.
Perfect. So last question. If QOBAL works, so really works, if quality actually becomes a habit for the organizations and people who engage with it, what does that change? So what does the world look like when that happens?
So what we want to do is to help people live better lives and do better business. So to be more content with the daily lives, to be more energetic, and at the end of the day also more happy. And that's what we want to reach. Of course, we won't change the world with our company, so that's not what we are thinking. But if you can reach only a tiny fraction of mankind or society worldwide, and to help them be more mindful and be also more sustainable in the way they live, then we did a good job, because this is going to lead to more quality of life, which is of course the headline of what we're doing, and better decisions on the private and also on the business side. And if we can do a contribution to the overall transformation that needs to happen on this planet, then we are.
Famous
For
last
sure.
word. Thank you very much for that. Nikolas Bradford, founder, curator of QOBAL, engineer, coach, photographer, someone who proved that after 15 years you can still surprise yourself. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for your time. I really appreciate. I mean, I know what time of stress you are at the moment. Founding a new company in the first 12 months at least brings you nearly to 24/7 working and not having even time to sleep or have a sip of coffee. Thanks for taking the time for being with us, and thanks for sharing all that information. To all our listeners out there, you'll find all the information about QOBAL, the link to Nikolas, and how you can register, how you can find all the information down below in the show notes, as always. And if you have anything else you would like to know, please just simply reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to connect you directly to Nikolas and to QOBAL.
So if this conversation sparked something for you, share it, save it, or just sit with it for a moment. That's where transformation actually begins. We see you in the next episode of One Day in Transformation. Thank you.
Hey, Nikolas.
Thank you.